if I'm investing in a business, if you can't prove to me how it's going to make us a return, I'm not buying it. I think the same thing about an employee. If I can't figure out how they're going to make me money, they're not getting hired. We're down here in Loudoun County, Virginia at Matt Clay, Dr. Matt Clay's practice. This is our official Get on the Road pop-up mastermind, where we're trying to take the coaching program with our Rehab Chiropractic Mastermind and expand it and grow it and get in front of my clients here to help them grow their business. And so today we spent 3 hours going through client expectations, team expectations, hiring, KPIs, all the things that are going to help to grow and scale a practice. I think that one of the main goals I have in this coaching program is to help other chiropractors, rehab chiropractors who practice a certain way to grow their business and to scale, to provide opportunity for employees, for other chiropractors to come in and associate and create a company culture that I think is missing in our profession. And so to be able to get on the road and spend time at an office and get in front of people and go through KPIs and metrics and really just solidify a business to give people process and goals is always the most important thing. And I think in the 2022 world where we've lived the last couple years on Zoom, we missed that in-person interaction. And I think in our profession as chiropractors, that's important. I think it's a missing piece and something that we should hold on to. But even as someone in the consulting world where I only talk to people on the phone, being able to get out and see my clients and be able to help them grow their business is one of the most gratifying things, and to watch them have success and then employ others, it's really special. So if we have this admin person, right, we want to lay out what we can do with them. I think a couple things that are important, but I find that anybody I bring in, any employee, step one, I think there's 2 levels of an employee, and essentially kind of what we talked about with Ashton before. If you bring on an associate, for his first 2 years, my thing was like, just do a good job with what's already here, right? That's just make sure you show up, make sure you smile, make sure you're nice, do the right thing, get people better, like do the thing, right? Just kind of follow the process. Right? Your job is to just it's an effort thing. Like, just don't be an asshole, right? Show up on time, make patients like you, get them better. Like, do the thing that you're supposed to do. If you do that well, that's like the basics of doing your job. The next step, which we kind of alluded to, is how to grow, how to provide more value, means that he's now responsible for outcomes. Rather than just showing up, being nice, now it's like, can you actually bring people in the door? Can you get them across the line? Can you get them to stay on the schedule? Can you do all these things? It's more about the outcome thing. My marketing, same thing. When Hannah started, her job was to make sure the email went out on time, make sure we did the podcast, make sure we had Google Ads up, make sure that we ran a referral for award. All of those things, they're just like, the goal is just to get it done. That's the outcome. It's just to make sure you do it. And the only way you screw it up is if you don't do it. It's just all about effort. That's all we care about. The growth for her too, same thing, is that now she's a marketing director, and the difference is now she's responsible for outcomes. So instead of just doing the referral for award, we're responsible for this amount of patients that come through it. Instead of just running ads, we have to generate a certain amount of leads from it. We have to get a return on our investment. And so for me, that's how I think about like a lower level person or someone that starts. Just essentially, it's like building the muscle, right? Not making them responsible. Don't worry about what happens. Like, don't worry about the outcome. Let's just do it. Just keep doing it. We always say, like, do the thing and don't be reckless. If you want a raise, if you want to be promoted, if you want to grow, now we've got to get outcomes, right? And so I think the same way here, where you start to think in those terms from metrics. That first phone call is the thing, because if you screw that up, people aren't going to come, right? Because if they hear like, oh my God, I could pay $10 down the street and he's 200, like if that's not done correctly, it's over. And so that starts to tell me, again, as I start to sort of, how can I set someone up for success? I start to think, like, I'm gonna get her on the phone, but I'm gonna be okay if she screws it up, or if we're not making a ton of money, like I gotta do that still. That's the last thing I'll give her. So for me, that's why I would start here. Because this is where we can start, why it's just process. And so like KPI, you heard that term? So KPI is it ER or OR? Indicator.
OR.
Good.
No, ER.
All right, you're making my video back.
I gotta look at it. There you go.
Key performance indicator. Every number in every task has a KPI attached to it, right? And so Lily, yours was, if it's 10%, the KPI is 5%. If it's 10%, we're off track. That's a KPI, right? Patient visits could be a KPI. Discovery, amount of consults is a KPI. Leads is a KPI. It could all be KPIs, key performance indicators. How does a person know they're doing their job? So we always say at my company, I'm not going to tell you how you're doing, you're going to tell me. Because we're going to agree on these numbers. And then at the end of the day, week, month, like we're going to report on them and how did we do, right? And it's really just on track, off track. So every week we have a meeting and we go around and it's like, my KPI is 75% of consult to evaluation or whatever. We're off track. We're 2 out of 40, so 50%. So everyone knows, right? It's very much standard across. And again, it takes the emotion out of like, I think you're not doing a good job. I feel like I'm doing bad. It's like, okay, but what do the numbers say? What I actually find, which is interesting, is I think you have high-level people when you have to almost talk them off the ledge, right? In other words, I feel like I'm not doing a good job. Well, the numbers show you actually are doing a good job, right? Well, because think about it. Again, in a cash-based world, if we can get 7 out of 10, 8 out of 10 people to like move along to the next step, that's really good. But like that's still 3 out of 10 saying no. This is too expensive, and we always take the no's harder than the yeses. And so again, I think the higher level people you have, the more you're actually being like, all right, you're actually not doing as bad as you feel like you are, right?
That part's been like pretty big for me though.
Why?
Well, just because, when you're on your own and you're cash, like there's, and I don't think of it as an issue anymore. I totally used to think of it as an issue, but there's so much competition in the area, right? But not a lot of them are out of network, not a lot of them work with patients as long as I do. But I know like the people I'm targeting, it's probably a little bit smaller target market. And there'll be times where I'm like stressed out because I'm like, well shoot, I haven't gotten like that many like people to come in and say yes. I've had like 3 people last week say they didn't want to come in. But when I go back and look at the numbers, it's like even this March, even though I'm not done yet, like it's still better than my original 2 Marches, like when I opened up.
Yeah.
But I'm still, in my mind sometimes, just because of like day to day or week to week, it's like, what the fuck, why there's not many people come in, why there's not as many people calling to like schedule like new visits and stuff. But then when I go back and look at it, it's totally fine. But it's still like in the moment kind of stuff.
Oh yeah.
Good or bad compared to what?
Okay.
Compared to what? Because I get on calls with people every day. How are you doing? This week was slow. It was great. It was like, I don't give a how this week was. But what's the discipline on how we're actually measuring that? And again, this starts with you and will be felt by your team. If you're a fireman, there's 10 people on the schedule today. Oh, boss is gonna be pissed, and it's like that's what they're gonna feel. It's gonna be a firestorm. Or it's great because we have so many patients coming in. It's like neither one of those is okay. The only way to measure is by trends. Like in order, if I was going to look at, and you're exactly right. Did I teach you that, or you just figured that out compared to last March and the March before? Okay, good. Because I was going to say that's pretty good. If in order, and again, this takes discipline because it's easy to look at next week's schedule and be like, if I'm going to judge how we're doing, it's going to be in that order. So last month, February, Ashton had a baby. He was out 2 weeks. The previous February, we're still in COVID. It was cold, whatever. I knew he was going to be out 2 weeks. We were horrendous. We did terrible. I lost $25,000. But compared to last February, we're still in COVID. It was February. We actually made like $1,000. So how are we doing? Terrible. Not bad. 3-month average, trends are moving in the right direction. All the numbers are going up. So fine, really good. Which one do you pay attention to? Because again, if I show up like this, everyone else is gonna be freaked out too. Because literally you're dealing with, Ashton has a kid, he's got a wife that's home, you're dealing with people's like livelihoods. And like imagine if I'm feeling stressed, imagine what they're gonna feel like if I feel like this. So I'm going in and saying, hey, we planned for this. Guys, we know this is happening. Not ideal, like I don't like this, but I was ready for it. We were ready for it. Compared to last year, we're actually made $1,000 more. Now you all got raises, so it's not great because we're more expenses, but it's not the end of the world. Now, if this continues, now we get into this trend. It's a trend, that's a problem, but it's not a problem yet. So I said to them, I was like, listen, we knew the snowstorm was coming, we're prepared, it just can't last for 6 weeks. It's gotta be a 2-week snowstorm. But that starts with you being disciplined to look at this all the time.
Thanks so much for watching this episode. If you like this content, there's so much more on my podcast. Please like and subscribe at iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your podcasts.